This Hangout on air is live. This is the Google Google Hangouts GNU Radio project call April 2017. Oh, hello, Derek. Okay, so we have 6 agenda items, and I'll quickly go over them. So first of all, I quickly want to say something about the wiki and about GSOC. Then I'll hand off to Jonathan Corgan, who will talk about the CI system updates and upcoming releases. And then Ben has 2 announcements on the Road and Schwartz competition and GRCon 17, our favorite conference of the year. All right, so regarding the wiki, there's actually not that much to say. It's just that we never, like last call, it wasn't quite done, so we never really announced it. We transitioned our wiki over to MediaWiki, and it's up on wiki.gnuradio.org. It's the same content as before, except we deleted all the obsolete and deprecated pages. Some of them we had obsoleted, but we couldn't delete them on Redmine because our Redmine installation was so broken. So we actually had pages up there that were blatantly false. We sort of put in a banner that said, this page, please ignore this page. And now we've removed all of those. And then while we were at it, we also removed a couple of pages that were simply outdated. So about maybe 2/3 of the old wiki has moved over to the new wiki. So there's 2 major features that are still missing. One of them is logging in through using OAuth and GitHub. So there's a plugin for that. I installed it. It doesn't work. At some point, I'll have to start debugging some PHP code, which I love doing. And maybe we'll figure it out. But you can just create an account like you can on any other MediaWiki and start editing. And a lot of people have actually done that. And there's a couple of people I like to call out in particular. So there's William Giebers, or Giebers, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, who has been incredibly helpful, basically fixing a lot of the formatting and things like that. But other people have helped as well. I don't have a list in front of me, so I'm just not even going to try. There's a couple of things that are really easy to fix, and that is basically whenever the automatic import screwed up the formatting, it's always obvious. So if anyone, if you browse the wiki, you see a page that is not quite correctly formatted, just edit it, fix it, and then we'll have it done in no time. I've actually suggested if you're a new contributor to GNU Radio and you want to get started somewhere, just pick the random page link for the wiki, make it your your default page or something, so it always brings up a new page, and then that way you can see if pages don't make sense. There's a couple of things that are also different between Redmine and MediaWiki. So for example, the page title on Redmine was more of an indexing thing. So we had like these camel caps page titles, whereas on MediaWiki it's the actual page title. So some page titles, they look weird now. And things like that can also be fixed by renaming pages, just making it all look a little bit nicer. And then I'm not an expert on MediaWiki, which means there's probably like tricks or plugins that we can use to make things look nicer, or add some formatting tricks or something like that I just don't know about. So if you're an expert on MediaWiki and you have specific suggestions, what to change, then I'm very, very happy to get that. I get a lot of non-specific ideas, like how about we add that feature that does that? And now my reaction is always the same, which is, yeah, that's a good idea, but I don't know how to do that. And it's difficult to research all that. Yeah, but otherwise the wiki is live and we're very happy with it. And sorry, I said there were 2 features missing. The other one is proper language support. On the old wiki, we had a volunteer who helped with the Brazilian or Portuguese translations, and we've already have a user who's translating pages into Russian. So we want to come up with a way pretty soon to make that properly integrated into the wiki, and such that you don't have to create your new pages in a new namespace. Excuse me. For every new language. So that's the wiki. The other thing I want to talk about real quick is Google Summer of Code. So the slot announcements have happened, and we have gotten our slots, and of course we cannot tell you how many, but I can tell you it's a non-zero value. And on May 4th, there will be the announcement of who the students are that will get assigned their slots. May 4th is also Star Wars Day, so get out your lightsabers and eagerly await the announcement of the slots. If you weren't selected, there's a chance you could still apply for Summer of Code in Space, which has been delayed this year. So GSOC was earlier, like the whole organization started much earlier than the years before, and SOCAS is delayed backwards. So the program hasn't even properly started, but I put in an application. I'm very hopeful that we'll get another slot there. And if you're from a country that is contributing to the European Space Agency, which includes all European Union countries and then some more, then you are eligible to participate in Summer of Code in Space as well. And it's a similar bounty, and it's basically a very similar program. Okay, that's GSOC on the wiki. I don't know if there's any questions on any of those. Okay, so the next two agenda items I said earlier are a new continuous integration system and release updates. I'm just going to hand off to Jonathan for that section.
All right, is my audio okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so first thing I'd like to announce is we have now Andre Roda as a new tech lead that's going to be focusing on our continuous integration and our web infrastructure going forward. It's great to have him on board, and already we've seen some major output. The first of that is the new continuous integration set up with a system called BuildBot. Now, BuildBot's been around for a long time. It's not quite as commonly recognized as Travis or Jenkins, but we have it now set up at ci.gnuradio.org/BuildBot. That's BUILDBOT. What it is doing now is it's able to perform full builds and QA tests in a variety of configurations every time we have a pull request and anytime there's a push to the repository. This gives contributors sort of that instant feedback if there's something not quite right, in terms of it can't compile or there's a merge issue or something like that, where previously that would have to wait for a person to review the pull request and get that kind of feedback in. So that's been very helpful in speeding up getting the PR or the pull request backlog cleared out. We're going to be, the system's going through some testing right now, and there's probably going to be some changes from what you see if you go there now. We'll be adding some more some more combinations of things to try, and hopefully we'll be able to add some other operating system tests besides Ubuntu. But as is, I think it's a great accomplishment. And again, I'd like to thank Andre for all the work he's put in the last month and getting it to the point where it is now.
I'm sharing the dashboard
any questions?
Too.
Great.
If you click on my little profile, yeah.
Yes. So every time there's a pull request, this build called pull request runner runs. And that kicks off a bunch of tests, and then it kicks off the actual compiles that show up in those other boxes. And you can see we've got 1604 and 1404 of Ubuntu. We've got the main, master, and next branch compiles, and then we'll also be setting it up for our 3.8 work here soon. Any questions?
So I don't have a question.
Okay.
Yep, Jonathan, I don't have a question, but maybe you could comment on the feature that does like the merge ops, like merge into main.
Yes. So one of the things that it's not really unique with GNU Radio, but it's not as common as in other projects, is that we have a continuous merge system where every change to every bug fix that comes in goes into our main branch, and then that gets merged up to master and next. Every new feature that comes in on master gets merged up to next. And then next is where all the 3.8 work is happening. It's great from the point of view that all the branches are completely current with their with everything that's happening. But one of the challenges is sometimes merges on one branch will break on another. And with the system in place with BuildBot, that all gets automatically tested. So if you submit a pull request off of main, it will test it off main, merge it to master, and then merge it to the next, and test those two as well. This is something that took a little bit of feature development, and as Andre is one of the developers of the BuildBot system itself, he was able to get that integrated and working for us in a pretty short amount of time.
Oh,
any other questions?
As an endorsement for BuildBot, it's used by a lot of very, very important companies such as Mozilla, although who's using it?
So right now Mozilla is using it still, but other companies like Intel and the Yocto project and Chromium
and of course
Edis.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. Any other questions on the CI? All right. So for our released projects, right now most of the work is being done on 3.8. We're continuing to accept bug fixes and new features on the 3.7 branch, but our focus has shifted toward getting the 3.8 release process going. We've made significant progress since the last call on our Python 3 branch, and so we have most of the unit tests passing under Python 3 for all of the non-GRC stuff, so the actual flow graphs and Python-based GNU radio. Almost all of that is passing. We've got a few Python 3 and NumPy interactions we have to figure out. So that's a very good sign about the underlying code. On top of that now, the user interface for GRC work for converting from the old PyGTK and GTK3 system to the new, well, Sebastian, if he were here, could probably describe it better, but that is what's happening at the moment. We're expecting, or I'm expecting anyway, to be able to merge the Python 3 branch with the new GRC back into Next fairly quickly. When we do that, if you're using the Next branch, it'll be like the rug is pulled out from under you, because all the dependencies will change, and it will obviously require some work on your part to get Next branch working again. So before we do that, we'll make an announcement and sort of give you a guide for testing out Next branch. At that point, the 3.8 release or the 3.8 work is mostly cleaning up the GR Digital, all the deprecations, and putting into place all the blocks that are going to stay in 3.8 and remove the ones that we deprecated in 3.7. So happy progress is being made, and again, the focus right now is on GRC. We will let you know when there's more on that. Any questions on those? All right, we also did release 3.7.11 off of the master branch. There's no real overarching theme about 3.7.11 other than it's an accumulation of a whole lot of small pieces. In the release notes, you can see the work that's been done on each of the different components. One thing to note, though, about 3.7.11 was it was 43 people. I think that's the highest count we've ever had for any release at one time. So it does show that the base of contributors has widened a bit over time. I think at that point, the next items are you, Ben?
Sure. Martin, was there anything you wanted to cover before I take it?
No, please take it.
Okay, cool. So I only have 2 items to discuss. I'll go ahead and share my screen again. So real quickly, the Rodenschwartz engineering competition. I talked about this a little bit in the last call, but they run an annual engineering competition, and this year it is using GNU Radio. Specifically, the challenge is to build out GNU Radio-based DVB-T2 systems. So the entry for this the qualifiers rather run through April 25th. So there's still time to join the competition if you're interested and haven't done so yet. The top set of teams, Roden Schwartz is going to bring out to Munich for the final competition, and then there's a $3,000 cash prize. So that's number one. And number two actually is GRCon. So planning for GRCon is continuing. Things are going really well. We've pulled in actually we're doing really well in terms of attracting sponsors, and the sponsors that we have actually aren't yet totally reflected on the website. We're still pulling in things like their logo files and that sort of thing that we need to actually get them live on the website. There is this sort of high-level overview of what the program will look like. One of the key things that I want to highlight here is that this year we are reintroducing the concept of tutorials, which we had some years ago but haven't done in a while. So we're anticipating a lot of interest in those particular tracks, and we're going to try to arrange the conference schedule such that hopefully people won't be torn between wanting to attend both a tutorial and a tech talk. So we are paying attention to that. One of the neat things about GRCon historically has been that it's been a single track, with the exception of certain days where we broke off for working group meetings or tutorials and that sort of thing. So we don't want to lose that one-track focus and the ability to have the entire community there to talk about one particular topic. But adding the tutorials back in, I think will be beneficial for the conference. The other major thing I want to talk about, actually, or really I wanted to highlight and then hand off to Derek, is thanks to a lot of effort from Michelle Thompson, we will have amateur radio exams this year at GRCon. So she is organizing this and has put a lot of effort into it. And to talk a little bit about the amateur radio exam and ham in general, I'm gonna toss it to Derek Cozell, who's also working with Michelle and is part of the GRCon organizing committee.
Thanks, Ben. So as you can see, there's a page about this on the GNU Radio website, and that does a great job of providing the steps you need to take if you're interested in taking the exam. There are 3 levels: Tech, General, and Extra. And anybody who's attending GNU Radio Conference, I guarantee can pass the technician with just a small amount of preparation. And for many people in the community, that's actually provides all the access that you're going to want right off the bat. One of the big benefits of getting an amateur radio license in the US and abroad is that you get access to a lot of spectrum. You have permission to broadcast an astonishingly high amount of power, 1,500 watts on most bands. And there's a lot of people in the amateur radio community who have a huge amount of knowledge about, radio. Many of them are using software-defined radio already. There's some notable projects that are using GNU Radio, such as the SOTA radio project is doing contacts at 10 gigahertz. AMSAT's Phase 4B project is hugely using GNU Radio for its development and considering using it for the uplink and downlink. Lilac Sat is a CubeSat using the open source Codec 2 and GNU Radio for their development. So anybody who's attending, I highly encourage you to get your license if you don't already have it. The technician class, as I said, is quite easy, and everything you need to know is listed up on the website. And Michelle has done a great job of organizing everything.
And just to double check, the exam is free for any attendee to GRCon, right, Derek?
I believe that's correct.
Yeah.
There's usually a small nominal cost, but I think that's being covered by the examiners.
Awesome. Yeah, and just to throw in here, if you are active in software radio at all, and your presence at GRCon would indicate that you are, it is definitely worth getting a license if you don't have one yet. I have the lowest license level, the technician license, and even that is tremendously useful. And Derek, if you're generally if you test and you pass the first license, or pass the first exam, you can actually go ahead and take the general, and if you pass that one, you can go and take the extra. That's correct, right?
Yeah, you can prepare and try for the Grand Slam. It's highly encouraged. We had a recent test that I was proctoring, and we had 2 people pass all 3 in one go, and the majority of people who attended the exam passed technician and general. And just one other thing that I forgot to mention is don't forget that SDRs do need antennas and filters and amplifiers, and a huge number of the reasons why your signal doesn't look like it does in the textbook are things that amateur radio operators have been dealing with for decades. And so there's a huge amount of knowledge there that can be gained.
Awesome. Thanks, Derek. So I guess at this point, I'll open it up to questions about GRCon generally. And if there are none, then Martin, I'm going to throw it back to you.
Doesn't look like we have any questions. Unless there are any in IRC, no. Okay. Well, perfect. Anything else other than GRCon? Anyone wants to bring up? Nope. Okay. In that case, that's it. We're keeping it short and sweet. That's nice. Usual, I'd like to encourage everyone to get involved with GNU Radio. The wiki is a new avenue to do that now with very little effort. And thanks everyone for joining the call, and see you in a month. Bye.